Let's get a quick take on Representative Gordon Klingenschmitt outraging Democrats and Republicans alike with his comments about the attack on the pregnant Longmont woman on his radio show this week. Patty Calhoun from Westward. I guess when we knew that Gordon Klingenschmitt was elected, we knew something was going to happen where Republicans would be running away from his message. We just didn't know when. I guess this is our win. What do you think?
Well, and it's not like he hasn't given them ample opportunity before with what he said about Obama, but this one where basically it's because we are no longer God-fearing, we're not following the Bible, that we're all going to be running around cutting babies out of utero just doesn't seem like a likely scenario. The fact that we knew he would be the gift that keeps on giving at this table, and even though Republicans are running away, he's still in office. We're going to have him to kick around for a while.
David Kopel from the Independence Institute and DU Law School. Is the running away from Klingenschmitt effective enough where the damage will be mitigated, or is this going to start to stick to some part of the Colorado GOP?
Well, obviously the troll faction on the other side will do their best to make it stick. Klingenschmitt has the same problem as Jeremiah Wright, which is he made the point, which he quoted from the book of Hosea, and it's throughout the Bible, that when a nation turns away from God in extreme ways, it leads to calamity for the nation, including things that lead to the deaths and suffering of innocent women and children. That's what Jeremiah Wright was saying when he said, "God damn America," that 9/11, even though, of course, there were lots of innocent people killed in that, was, on a national sense, God's punishment for what Reverend Wright viewed as America's wrong ideas. The problem for Klingenschmitt is that if you're a reverend, you're supposed to just speak the truth as you see it, and you do that. But if you're an elected official, that's not necessarily popular. Reverend Wright wouldn't have probably gotten reelected on the Goddamn America platform, and that's the difficulty for the party and for Klingenschmitt himself, is that the public doesn't want to be told what the ministers, Wright or Klingenschmitt, see as the hard truths that they need to hear from their elected officials.
And Sealer from the Denver Business Journal, you're a guy at the Capitol. What was the reaction with underneath the Golden Dome?
Well, the interesting thing is a lot of people had talked about how they expected Klingenschmitt to come in and basically be the next Doug Bruce. Every time he opened his mouth, his foot would be inserted. And the truth is that hadn't been the case so far this year. Klingenschmitt had come across as a very polite person. He at times had led some of the arguments on some committees in very cogent ways against Republican opposed bills. And then all of a sudden this bursts out like this. So I think there was this feeling like this was bound to happen, but there was also a bit of a feeling like, hey, maybe this guy isn't as explosive as people made him sound. Now let's remember, this is the same district that Doug Bruce came from, and this is the same district that booted him out of office after 1 year in a primary. I expect we're going to see a list of primary challengers growing very quickly to Mr. Klingenschmitt.
Susan Green, editor at ColoradoIndependent.com. Are Republicans, whether it be in El Paso County or otherwise in the state, going to pay for what Klingenschmitt is saying publicly?
It's a good question. In some ways, I mean, he's a caricature of himself, and so I would have said yes earlier, but they've been distancing themselves so much from him, and the guy has almost like a Tourette syndrome problem. I mean, he did go for several months without saying anything super bombastic, and I think he's very amicable, and in some ways people were surprised at the Capitol about how easy he is to work with. But you go on these radio shows and you've got to say something, right? And so, or at least he feels like he's got to say something. And so he went from kind of Klingenschmitt, Dr. Chaps, the caricature, to, hey, this guy's actually, workable, to Dr. Chaps again. I think he'll stay that way for a while.